Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Into the Fire, where every single week all we're trying to do is just clear the smoke on some hot topics to find some clarity. And I got my main man, Rob Reed, sitting here with me, of course, the star of the show. So how you doing, Rob?
I'm doing really good.
Good, man. Good.
Doing excellent this morning.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So before we kick off, we should talk a little bit about the award ceremony yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a great night. I was actually going to do a bit of a shout out to the Manitoba Chambers of Commerce. Had their 38th annual Business Awards Gala last night, and it was a great time. It really was. You know, so many different things that went on, so many businesses that get recognized, and things that are going on, not just in Winnipeg, but throughout the province. And I'm always blown away by the different caliber of businesses out there, how good they are, what they're doing, and things that we just don't even know that's happening.
Totally.
You know, so it was so great to see. And they had some big names, got up some big awards.
Of course.
Mr. Price from EH
Saw
Price.
that, yeah.
He got up.
What a leader.
He got up and had great message that he shared. Doug Harvey got up, shared some words as well. And you know what was really cool about that? Both of them shared the same basic message.
Really? What was that?
You know, it was the pillars of what they believe are important to the community. And through that, you know, family, a strong business supports good workers, which supports our local economy, because if you've got a good business, you hire more people, you can pay them well. And the most important takeaway that I got from both of those fellas was that you have to make sure that you give back and the value of giving back to the community.
Absolutely.
And that just resonated through the room from both of those guys.
I love that. Two great leaders in our community, and it's nice for them to finally get some I don't say finally, but nice for them to get some recognition. But they're always doing great things in the community, so I love that. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say again, Bison Fire Protection, yourself, the team here, were nominated as a finalist for the Best Medium-Sized Business category. It was three individuals or three companies. It was the Forks, Bison, and Clear Concepts.
That's right, yeah.
And Clear Concepts took it away. So again, congratulations to Clear Concepts on that, and a great win. And we talked about this before, you know, where it doesn't really matter whether we win or lose. And we said this before. Yeah. Right. If being nominated was, what's the word I'm looking for? It was proof of what we're doing here is the right thing.
Exactly. You know what? And that's exactly it. That opportunity to be recognized for the hard work we're doing every day. And it's, you know, I've said so many times, it's not the hard work that I'm doing, it's the hard work that my team does every day.
That's right.
And I had a few minutes to chat with the owner of Clear Concepts just prior to the awards starting, and we both thought somebody else was going to win, and we both had a laugh about it. And you know what? What did I say to him? I said, good luck on the runner-up. Nice. We're just joking back and forth, of course.
I love it, of course. That's cool. No,
good on them, because you know what? I know that they're working hard. They're, doing great things in the community, doing great things with their staff as well, and it's a good win for them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, like I said, it's just great to rub shoulders with other business leaders and, again, just get recognized. That's a win in and of itself, and we've been saying this the entire time. So it's really, really good. I'm glad you went there, and glad you had a good night last night.
No, we had a ball.
Surprised you're here right now, late night and early morning as we kick this recording off the next day.
You know what?
Dedication to the show, baby. That's what I love. Commitment.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got to go.
So this week, we're talking about a topic that I know rubs a lot of senior managers, CEOs, business owners the wrong way when they hear this term. Side hustle.
Right.
The side hustle that your employees likely have.
Right.
And the reason why CEOs, VPs, managers, they don't like their employees having side hustles, because side hustles are seen as a distraction. You're an employee, for lack of a better word, I've heard people say this before. I own you because you work in my company. You having a side hustle distracts you from the work you're doing here. And I don't want a distraction. I want you 100% committed. Are you not committed? Why aren't you committed? And it starts to create a lot of tension in workplaces that don't support the side hustle. So I'm going to come right at it. I'm going to ask you, do you support the side hustle?
Actually, Ryan, I do. I don't have a problem with that at all. I've got a couple people actually at Bison that have side hustles, and I know about them. And honestly, I don't care, because I'm looking at it from an entirely different way than what you've just
Okay.
described. And I'm not disagreeing with what you said, because I
for
think
sure.
there are a lot of business owners that believe that. That analogy, I think, is probably spot on in a lot of cases. But I'm going to tell you where I differ on that. And I can use some very, Bison experiences where, one of the fellows here has a side hustle, and what's he done with that is he's developed his own websites, he's developed his own marketing, his own strategies, and all that sort of stuff. And what is he doing? He's bringing it back to the company and saying, you know what, I've had success doing this, why don't we try that?
Love it.
So am I benefiting from his side hustle? Absolutely I am. Why wouldn't I support that? Now, and you've heard me talk about in all kinds of shows, who doesn't have hobbies?
It's true.
So if you can monetize your hobby, right, as a side hustle.
Good point. Very good point.
Why wouldn't you, right? This allows people to put a little extra money in their pockets and do what you want with it. And you start thinking about, what do we want to do with it? Well, that's everything from the mundane, well, that pays my taxes, to I'm going to go on a nice vacation, to, I want that new car, or I want that classic car, whatever you do.
Of course.
But it takes a lot of stress out of your life because you've got a little extra money and something you love doing, you're monetizing. I'm going to, one of my best friends, number of years ago, we were big snowmobilers, and he's decided to start fixing snowmobiles in his shop. And it was a side hustle, and away he went. I actually came up with the name for his company. I'm pretty proud of that. You know what? But, it turned into, in the wintertime, he's very busy out there to the point where we don't spend much time snowmobiling anymore. So I'm a little ticked. But his side hustle has allowed him now to go down to 4 days a week at his regular job, as he's pushing towards retirement. And it allows him to do things that he really loves. He's a much happier guy because he's doing that, and he has an employee, part-time guy that comes and helps him at night.
Wow, right on. No
so
kidding.
Again, a little bit of money being shared around.
Absolutely, yeah. I love your distinction where maybe it comes down to just the word that we use, the side hustle. Maybe there's just very negative connotation to side hustle, but when you say hobby, if you were to go and tell your manager, hey, I have a hobby, they'd be like, yeah, great. I have a side hustle. Hold on a second here. But I've been like that for my entire life. When I had a job, my hobby, it was a commitment that I had, was to martial arts. I put in countless hours every single day to train myself in martial arts. I would leave work sometimes early because I would have people coming into town that I would train with.
Right.
There was no issue with that. People knew that, and they supported me. I was the martial artist in the office, and when the CEO would introduce me to somebody new, he does martial arts. It's like, oh wow. But if I say I have a side hustle that I spend less time on than martial arts, that's an immediate no-no. Why? Right. Because I'm making money off it. So you're saying, a hobby that you can monetize. I like that. Like, for some reason, I don't know why, it seems like it takes a little bit of the sting off.
Well, you use the martial arts example, but think of the people out there that have a band.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going out on the weekends and they're playing and they're making a few bucks at it.
For sure.
And I tell you from firsthand experience, you're not getting rich doing that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You're not. But it's their hobby. It's their thing. They're making a few dollars. They're going out a couple nights a week and practicing, but it's a side hustle.
Yeah.
But they're in a band, so no one goes side hustle. Oh my God, they're up to something.
Yeah.
But why would you want to take away that entrepreneurial attitude? Or a term I heard the other day used was intrapreneurial.
Yes.
Meaning someone that is inside your company with an entrepreneurial spirit.
Correct.
That doesn't want to start their own business and go. Now, what we're talking about are people that are doing things separately for you. I'm not talking about guys that are going out and stealing business from you and doing side jobs. Nobody wants that.
No.
I mean, that pisses off employers,
of course,
as it should.
Yeah,
for 100 reasons.
Breach of contract, I'm sure, but yeah.
You know what? We could.
But that's not what we're talking
we
about.
We could
right?
unpack that one all day.
Totally, yeah.
But the truth is, when someone's got something else going on, they're happier because they're fulfilling. Like, you know what? Did you do martial arts because it was a chore?
No, I did it because I love it.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun for you.
Exactly.
So if someone's doing their side hustle or their hobby, and they're having a ton of fun with it, are they a happier person?
Of course they are.
Are they bringing that happiness back to the company?
Absolutely.
What's that do for your culture?
Amazing things for your culture.
100% it does.
The challenge comes in, so I'm going to play devil's advocate on that, because the challenge is when your side hustle's making you money, but it's making you money, but you're also doing it during work hours. So what happens then if you have employees who are maybe, you know what, I'm responding to an email for my side hustle during work hours. If I put myself in the perspective of the side hustler, they say, listen, I'm just sending an email off. What's the difference between me going on Facebook or anybody else going on Facebook and wasting time there? I'm just sending a quick email off. I'm not distracted from my main 9 to 5. But the employer says, make very clear-cut lines. It's either this or this. And you're seeing a lot of that tension happen there as well.
Well, and like anything, there's going to be gray area. You got to find the crossover.
Yeah.
You've got to have obviously some restrictions into what you want as a company, what you're expecting from someone to be doing. Now, if you've got that happy person that's busting their butt all day, I'm going to guarantee you that some of them are going to be putting in. They're going to be in every day an hour early or staying a half an hour later. Well, if they're doing that for you and they're spending that extra half an hour spending some time, who cares if they're sending an email? Who cares if they're calling one of their suppliers to line something up or, the different things, because they're giving it back anyway. And I've said so many times, happy people that are content, that are bought into your culture, work so much harder.
Yep.
And that is so critical. So allow them a little bit, some flexibility. One of the big things that's going on these days in business is allowing flex hours. We could probably do a whole show on that. Yeah. But allowing people that flex time so they can come and go. Well, you can do it internally with, you know what, if you need a half an hour today to work on your side hustle, and I know you're coming in early anyway, or you're skipping lunch, or you're doing all those different things, why would I get upset with that?
Yeah.
And again, if you're bringing things back to the company because you've learned something, say, hey, boss, how about if we apply this? Hey, what do you think about that? Let's try this. I learned this. And they're teaching themselves things that are applicable to what you're doing every day. Why would you discourage that?
I love that. The reason why that's so good is because you're taking your ego away from it. Because I know time and time and time again, because I know there is a lot of tension with employees and their employers around the side hustle, because their employers believe that because you work for me, I own your time. And because I own you, I only want you doing X. I only want you doing Y, which is your job here that I'm paying you money for. Why do I pay you? Right? And you got this like very arrogant attitude. You're bringing a completely different attitude to it, where it's more collaborative. It's more communicative. If somebody in Bison Fire Protection has a side hustle, you're almost saying, don't hide it. Let's hear about it. Like, I love to hear about it. And you are giving trust to them and say, listen, I would love to know, like, what are you learning in your side hustle that maybe you can apply here? It might not be bringing business, but what lessons are you learning that you can bring to here? Maybe you do find out that they're a little bit more entrepreneurial. They're creating stuff. Well, how can I foster that kind of creativity
100%.
in this office? You're not looking at it from an arrogant perspective. You're trying to look at it from a collaborative perspective. You're not trying to shut it down. You're trying to understand. And that's what I think is beautiful. That is beautiful, man. And that's a very rare perspective to have. And I know it's a rare perspective to have because I've been talking about the side hustle for many years now.
Oh, I know this is a big thing with you because, I mean, as we've gotten to know each other, I don't think you sleep. Honestly, I don't think you sleep because you're always doing something.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. But this is... I am where I am today because of my side hustle. Right? I used to have jobs before. I used to work in companies before. But I started to follow my passion. My employers at the time, they didn't want to do shows. And I love doing shows. So I said, okay, I'm going to go create my own show. Created my own show, the Cut the Crap Show, and that thing blew up. And I said, I would love to make a show for you. They say, nah, I don't really want this. But you see the success I'm having. I don't want it. All right, that's fine. Then I'll leave and I'll go do what I'm going to do for other people. And now I'm creating shows for other people. My side hustle turned into my main hustle, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That company could still have me today doing a show strictly with them, knocking it out of the park.
Right.
But because they had short-sightedness and they said, no, like, I want you to do X, Y, and Z, that's what happens, man.
Well, you know what, Ryan, and you make a great point about that. The other part of this that people need to consider, and it's putting away the fear of exactly that. You get to that point where you've taken your side hustle and you've built it to a point where it becomes your full-time hustle. And I got to look at it and go, oh my God, I'm going to lose, Jimmy. Jimmy's going to go do his side hustle and he's going to live it and love it and do it whatever he wants. But if I've supported Jimmy all the way through it, right? As everyone gets to know, Jimmy's a real popular guy around here. But the fact is, I've done two things. I have taken somebody from where they were and invested in them and brought them to a level, and they were going to be leaving one way or the other because they had different passions. You know, a lot of people, especially in today's working environment, are transient, whether you like it or not. So they're going to come and go. So, you know, we've talked about this in previous episodes. Did they leave as a better person than when they showed up? Okay. Now, if we've supported them, like I've talked about earlier, all the way through their side hustle and all the good things that they're doing with that, what happens when they're out on their own and they bump into somebody that's interested in fire protection? Are they going to say, you know what, go call Rob? Call the good people over at Bison because they took care of me. When I was there, they were awesome. Right? Or do they sit back and go, you know, I could probably recommend one or two people, but I know when I was at Bison,
they didn't treat me well.
They didn't treat me well. I mean, you didn't drop a name.
That's right. Yeah,
you could have. You didn't drop a name.
That's true. Yeah,
and so you start thinking about that and where that could go. So you start developing your external sales team because those people are out there promoting your business
reputation
for you.
That's right.
Yeah, the know, like, trust.
Yeah.
And when they start talking about the great things you've done for them, that becomes such a success story as well.
Absolutely, it is.
And they've made room for maybe a new person that's going to come in. And sometimes the next person in line is actually a better person. Who knows, right? You don't know until you bring the people in and find out.
It's long-term versus short-term thinking. And what leads a lot of employers into the messes they're in, into having bad conflict with their employees around the side hustles, because they're so short-sighted. It's, you're an employee in my company, and I need to get the maximum amount of focus from you and commitment from you right now. You're taking the long approach, which is, cool, you have a side hustle? What are you learning in that side hustle? You're bringing curiosity. What are you learning in that side hustle? How can we apply it into Bison? You know, understanding that, hey, guess what? If your side hustle turns into your main hustle, yeah, it's going to be crappy that we're going to lose you because we love you here. But you know what? Like, I'm so happy for you. Long term, what do you think this person is going to do when somebody asks about fire protection? You nailed it, man. Now you have a brand ambassador out there in the community who is supportive of you, your philosophies, the company. And why? Just because you chose to be a good person and support them.
Well, keep in mind, too, when you have that person with the side hustle, the entrepreneur, as I called him earlier, that person is a lifetime learner, right? That's kind of how they're wired. That's what they're going to do. So the entire time that they're working on their side hustle with you, or on their own, I should say, while they're working with you, so yes, they are learning about their side hustle, but are they finding ways to improve their job here and do things better within the company? Well, if you're encouraging that, and growing that with them, they will. If you don't, right, what are they going to do? They're going to quietly go about their job, you know, like you did, until you get to a point where you say, I've had enough, I'm done, I'm gone. And what more did you bring to the company? Now, you offered to bring things, and they said no.
That's right.
How many times do you think that happens?
Probably a lot.
I can sit with that person and go, how's this going? What's going on? And honest to God, I'm a bit of a lifetime learner myself.
Of course you are.
I got that natural curiosity.
Of course.
So how are you doing? What's going on? What, you know, how's this working for you? I ask those questions.
That's the big thing that a big takeaway. So Rob, you know, you've been a CEO for many years, you know, leader in our community. I hope that other leaders are really listening to you, because as a former side hustler myself, I wish that I had a CEO like Rob who just took an interest in what I was doing and would try to figure out, hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Is there anything that we can leverage here? Any type of creativity? If there isn't, that's great. But having that communication, being curious, that would mean a lot to me. Instead of curiosity from the perspective of, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Are you not happy here? Like, it's curiosity from the wrong perspective, but your curiosity is different. It's understanding, like, number one, I'm just curious, see what you're doing. And number two, it's like, is there anything you're doing there that, like, we can leverage here? Maybe lessons you've learned, like keeping that kind of communication open would have meant a lot to me at that time.
Now, I'm going to give you another example too, Ryan, that has not happened here, but you never know in the future. But business is always such an interesting thing because it's always so fluid, right? But your person has taken their side hustle to a point where they can't take it any further, but they want to take it further. And they come to you because you've known about it, you've supported it, you've worked with them the whole way through, and they say, this is what I have in mind. And maybe you create a joint venture. Maybe you can take it with them somewhere else, or you can support them going somewhere, and it becomes a division of. You've seen it. I mean, I hear deals around tables all the time, and different people when we're talking. And so I haven't had that personally happen, but I can absolutely see it, and I've heard different people have the discussion. You're telling me yourself that that's happened.
Yeah.
So when you think about where that goes, what can that do for your company?
Of course.
Because you grew it. You fertilized it. You watched it grow.
Of course, yeah. There's always potential. Like more often than not, that probably won't happen. That's rare. But if it does, but if it does happen, amazing. But most of the time, you have somebody who's they might be doing craft shows, or they might be starting up their own like podcast, for example, or they might be doing some other type of training on the side.
Yep.
And it's just something small that they're making a little bit of extra money on. It's supporting them. It's paying for some vacation. It's paying for some bills. Maybe helping them pay off some debt. Here's the one thing I also want to mention as well is that you don't seek first to understand, then to be understood. You understand. You want people to say like, no, I want you working in this company because, I want you focused. I want you committed. But do you also understand that maybe they're doing this side hustle for another reason? Maybe they're in really serious money problems, right? And they don't feel comfortable asking you for a $15,000 raise. Maybe they want to make $15,000 or something doing a side hustle elsewhere. The reason why most side hustles is actually written up in, I believe it was Entrepreneur Magazine. They did a survey of 100,000 people who have side hustles.
Right.
And the majority of people have side hustles to pay off debt because there's so much debt today in society. So they're doing this to alleviate stress.
Right.
So a lot of times people aren't even doing this because they want to. They're doing it because they have to. And that's very serious. You talk about like their mental health and the stress that debt creates on someone. And the reason why someone takes on a side hustle is to alleviate that debt. As a CEO, as a leader in your organization, I hope that you would understand why they're doing that. And they're doing it to alleviate stress, to support their families. And they're not doing it to be malicious. They're doing it just to live their best lives possible.
Right. Absolutely.
So something else to keep in mind.
For sure. Well, people have creative outlets. And it's funny, we do have a fella here that does a podcast.
Nice.
And,
awesome.
And it's just one of those things that I think he truly enjoys. He enjoys sharing his thoughts
Absolutely.
with people, like anyone that's doing a podcast.
Absolutely.
Anyone that's doing a show like we're doing. We're just sharing our thoughts.
That's exactly right. So again, the side hustle is something that's going to be very common. We're going to see more of it. And I think one of the biggest takeaways here that Rob, again, man, like I don't just puff smoke because you and I are friends, but I really do appreciate that perspective. And back in the day when I was a side hustler, like I wish that I had a CEO who understood and fostered that. And I think if there's any takeaway here, any leaders watching this who are maybe a little bit skeptical of the side hustle, maybe you've been a little bit hard on your employees about the side hustle, maybe reach out to Rob and ask him some questions about that, as he has some experience with that. He's been thinking about the side hustle for many years. And I would encourage you to maybe think a little bit differently about the side hustle, communicate more, collaborate more.
No, I love the comments that we get, the emails that I get, all that sort of thing.
Of course.
It's funny is we're talking about people that are doing podcasts as side hustles, and here we are doing a show.
I know, yeah, exactly.
And we're going to be launching a podcast. Into the Fire is going to become
That's
a
right.
podcast.
Exactly.
I think the end of this week, isn't it?
Yep.
So I guess we have a side hustle going on as we speak.
Guess so, eh?
We're doing our
Always
side hustle
something going
live.
on. Always something going on.
For sure.
Well, again, that's the side hustle for the topic of discussion today. Again, a hot topic, but again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. As we post this on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, feel free to comment on whatever platform you are gobbling up this content on. LinkedIn's our number one platform so far. We love getting a lot of content or comments on LinkedIn. You're getting a lot of DMs on there. So if you're on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you are, definitely feed us a like. Throw some comments on there. Throw a DM to Rob. Let him know how much you're enjoying the show. That always means a lot to him. It means a lot to me to see that as well. But
I'm going to throw something out here the other day because I had a lady comment on one of the shows we did last week. And what I really appreciated is she brought something to it that I intended or had thought about saying on the show, but completely forgot. I went, man, you made such a great point. And it was that the opportunity to expand the conversation, because we're sitting here going off the top of our heads.
Of course,
Talking about things that we both, our hearts are invested in.
Yeah.
But, sometimes you forget the odd thing, and someone brings their own golden nugget to it and enhances the conversation. That's why I really appreciate the comments so much.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. Well, that's this week's episode of Into the Fire, where, again, we're just covering off hot topics, and every single week we're just trying to clear the smoke and find some clarity. But, my man, it was a great discussion with you talking about side hustles.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you all next week. Take care.
Bye for now.
All right.